Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassey, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. And today we've got one of the big brains in our community. This guy has got a beat on everything that goes on around here. I admire him so much, so I'm going to pick his brain on a bunch of topics. It's Brad Gillis. Welcome, Brad.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So you're a commercial realtor.
Yep.
You're the Devreco guy, and I pronounced that wrong. Devreco guy. And you're sort of seen as a good downtown guy. You're very involved in what's going on downtown. So talk about what your business is like and what you're working on right now.
Sure. I mean, globally, we see in real estate a lot of opportunity in central business districts. And the millennial generation wants and is beginning to essentially want to see development in central business districts. So the downtown is the place to be. It's the center for commerce. So if you, whether it's courts or government, or you want to see a show or go to a bar or restaurant, or have a pizza or a lunch. Within 500 feet, you can get a roll of sushi, a coffee, and buy some very expensive jewelry.
Right.
So there is a lot of synergies that are happening, and they continue to happen. And I think just continue to get the word out about what's happening, within our downtown and within the city of Salisbury. There's a lot of opportunity, and we're essentially putting our money where our mouth is.
What fascinates me, there's a lot of people forever who have said this is what needs to happen downtown, and everyone had an idea. And you and Joey Gilkerson actually made things happen down there.
Yeah.
Like you made it happen. All the stuff that people thought should happen, you actually made happen.
It's always a slow burn. I mean, this is we play. If you're familiar with baseball, we play small ball, and our goal is to get guys on the bases. And we're not looking for the grand slam, and we just want singles and doubles every now and then eventually, a guy will cross home plate. So it's a good theory to have with buying one-off buildings. A perfect example is 118 North Division Street. For a period of time prior to SU essentially being donated the gallery building, there are art and gallery buildings that was down there. Now we've backfilled that in with the Old Town Deli.
Right.
The Brick Room is doing an expansion as we speak right now. So that's a good success story of seeing a building being completely repurposed. Our office is there. We have several different entrepreneurs that are in the building on a regular basis. The Hess building, downtown Salisbury, is a building that we purchased and have since retrofitted it. Right now we're redoing the facade on the Main Street side. We've retained the second floor tenants and are repopulating the first floor with some slight retail / office use on the first floor. And it's a good opportunity. The prices are right. We're making the opportunities happen for these tenants and occupants, and we're I think at the right place at the right time.
Right. Well, the building where the Brick Room is, we've all walked out of the government office building for years, looked
Sure.
at that building, you can see the potential, but what it would take to bring it up to its potential just seems overwhelming, but you were able to break through that.
Well, it's a crawl, walk, run. I mean, it's some buildings need 100% renovation day one, and you start with a vacant building, and you do all of, whether it's all the bricks and mortar, the structure, the roof, all new plumbing, all new HVAC. You bring everything up to code. In some buildings, you can bite size it. So you can do one level at a time. You can do one room at a time.
Right.
118 Division Street's a perfect example of bite size. So you can chew it. It's financeable. It's something that's it's not a multi-million-dollar project, and it works. And so there's other projects out there that you need to start with a blank slate, and There's a few buildings downtown that would be ideal, and they're prime for redevelopment.
Right.
A perfect example from a start from scratch is the Riverview Commons, which is the former Feldman's building.
Right.
Palmer Gillis, my dad, J.B. Barnes, and Dwight Miller took on that project, and in my opinion, hit a solid grand slam. Corner of Mill Street and Carroll Street and Camden and Riverside. I mean, that 5-point intersection is arguably the highest traveled intersection in the city of Salisbury. And they took an eyesore and made it into a destination with Angelo's Gifts and Acorn Market.
Right. And it just then again another great vision that you just have to have a lot of confidence, I think, or guts to pull something like that off,
or just be really naive and silly.
Well, when I interview Palmer and Dwight complains about how much money they spent. Palmer's all about the vision.
Yeah.
You get a business guy and a visionary guy, and you grew up with your dad being a visionary guy. Did you get that from him? Are you more practical than him?
I'd say it's a combination of both. I mean, my mom's a school teacher.
Okay.
And she's been retired for several years, but she has a very even keel temperament. And to be in the real estate industry, you got to be very even keeled. And but you also have to have the vision. I think I struggle with and have both that are complementary in many respects. So
right.
It's taking the risk, but also mitigating it.
Well, and it's interesting there in that situation where Palmer builds it, and then you're the guy with the personality who can go out and find tenants.
Yeah. I mean, that's the tenants are the engines. I mean,
right.
As glamorous as real estate may be to the outsider, really at the end of the day, we don't occupy a lot of space. I mean, my office is my iPhone, and I'm the guy with the standing desk, and always going somewhere, doing something, and seeing someone. We need the tenants, we need the occupants, and having breakfast with Dave Ryan, and Wycomico County has the most employees it's ever had in several years. I mean, we're peak employment, and we're growing as a community. So I think we're very much a product of that, surrounding ourselves with a very positive community.
Now, you're someone in your business as a commercial realtor, you have to look at all the different effects of the economy in every different area. What are you seeing out there in the Wycomico County economy right now?
Sure. Wycomico generally trends or lags with the national and state economy just because of our rural nature. Wycomico County will, in our lifetime, always remain a rural community. So we depend very much on the agricultural industry, but at the same time, we have these tertiary kind of metro areas that depend on employers such as PRMC, Purdue, SU, UMES, and it's a good time to be in Wycomico County. We are the community that has a river running through it, and our employment base is again peaking right now. You're seeing some turns, some opportunities. For example, Labanal leaving.
Right.
That's very much an opportunity. I think in the near future you'll see some spin-off of that cabling industry. Much like you did with the microwave industry. And we have several industrial parks where we have water and sewer capacity. We do have, I think, some struggles in regards to perception of, whether it's a crime perception or an educational perception, but those are with any community, and so I think it's up to us as the citizens and Salisburyans, if you will, or to really face those challenges and conquer them, and say that we have some pride in our community.
It's funny that you say we'll always be rural, and people always say to me that we're going to be the next Long Island, New York, and I'm like, no, with the zoning and stuff, there's no way that's going to happen. So I'm glad you make that point.
Yeah, I mean, the state of Maryland, and as a developer, rightfully so. I mean, we develop on water and sewer. So I can't tell you the last building that we renovated or built that had a septic field. And it makes sense for development to be infill. We speak of downtowns and the kind of resurgence of that. That's very green, if you will. I mean, you're essentially recycling a building.
Right.
I mean, the infrastructure is already in place. The impervious surfaces are already there. We're not adding on to and creating additional stormwater management systems and pervious surfaces that are, so we're going to remain rural. And I think you'll see in our lifetime the belt kind of tighten up a little bit. I don't think it's going to. Some folks predict that, hey, Salisbury will ultimately connect to Pittsville, much like it did with Salisbury to Fruitland. I doubt we'll see that, or at least in our lifetime anyway. But you'll see pockets here and there. So.
Yeah, even Salisbury to Delmar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it used to be a 7-mile rural ride.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's changed so much.
Yeah, that's mainly. I think if the Salisbury Mall, the center at Salisbury, the bypass.
Right.
That corridor. To have a community that has 30,000 citizens in it, in the city of Salisbury, and the county having 100,000 people in it, it would a 800, 900,000 square foot mall would not exist if it wasn't for our regional and our regional pull as a community.
Was that a mistake what we did in the 80s when they went north, when the bypass was leapfrogged again?
Yeah.
And they went out to fields and developed these, the Wilbur Sod Farm became Walmart.
I know.
Was that a mistake, or was that just what happened in America everywhere?
Yes. Both. I think if we had the will as a community to try to bring those retailers closer to our core, we might be a different community. But it's a reflection of any rural community across the United States. The Walmarts and the Targets and the regional malls are on these bypass type corridors, and that's because we're a very car-centric, vehicle-centric populace. And however, with the larger economies, whether it's a Manhattan or a Baltimore or what have you, you're seeing a lot more walkability. So I think as a community, we try to bridge that gap. And we're very much, again, rural community, and we're car-centric, but we also have what I'll consider to be a thriving downtown for what it is.
Right.
We're not going to go back to the days of Benjamins and the Gumbies and that's not going to happen. We buy T-shirts and apparel and et cetera on Amazon, and we every day we get a box at our house. That's something. So the downtowns are destinations. They're park your car, walk, get a drink, go to a restaurant, see a show. That's the theory in which I think our downtowns are going to be successful moving forward.
Yeah, and just hit on downtown a little bit more.
Yeah.
It has been baby steps. It's not like there's been one huge thing built that everyone has to go see. It is a slow process.
Well, if you really think about it, go back even 5 years ago, while the Salisbury Festival was kind of the premier event one time a year.
Right.
In many respects, we have the Salisbury Festival happening every month now.
Right.
With third Fridays, first Saturdays, Mayor Days started these things called Fridays at 5.
Right.
I think I don't know if it's every Friday or whatever have you, but it's
Go
on
play cornhole in the street.
Yeah, on a regular basis, just to kind of get people out in the streets, if you will. And I think just that is the downtown that I know, and it's walking down the street and bumping into someone, and having a conversation with the police officer, or having a conversation with a retailer or a fellow professional. It just happens, and it's very fluid, and
it feels like community.
It is. It very much is. That's the community I know, being there on a regular basis.
And I see you and your wife and kids riding your bike downtown from your house. That's a real community feeling.
Yeah, we try to every now and then. Having now 2 kids and a dog, and just like I feel like we need to we mobilize now.
Right.
So having a bike sometimes is a little trouble.
Yeah.
But I strive to do that. Only living a mile from downtown.
The infill discussion is fascinating to me because there is some great stuff going on South Salisbury Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I just noticed, we're about to do a story about it, your friend Wes Cox has sold the old car wash.
Mm-hmm.
And I've looked at that building for years to try to figure out what it could be other than a car wash, and there's a great development plan going there that reflects the new Salisbury.
Yeah, so that one of the things I think I know we'll begin to see is that Route 13 corridor, kind of maybe from like Main Street south, begin to really take shape. And you already see the new median taking place in front of SU.
Right.
Your Seagull Square was kind of bleeding edge, if you will, with the retail on the first floor and the multifamily on the above floors. And then now you're seeing everything on the east side of 13 be repurposed.
Right.
And you're having major retailers that are saying, "Hey, I want to be a part of this great thing called Salisbury University and the city of Salisbury." So, I mean, that if there's a hot spot right now in regards to retail, it's South Salisbury Boulevard, and whether it's infill development like the old car wash or there's an old McDonald's,
Right, that's there. Yeah.
that's been purchased and that's going to be repurposed.
Right. Horner Honda, venerable,
Perfect
long
example.
time
Yeah.
thing. It probably doesn't serve the college community to have
Yeah.
a small motor dealership type thing there. Something else better could be
And
there.
that's a great example. I mean, that building will be repurposed.
It's a great new building.
No, I mean it's a 10,000 square foot building,
Yeah.
and you'll see some type of user that wants to be a part of that synergy with the college there or the university.
Yeah. Now the neighbors down off of Camden are asking me all the time what's going on with Temple Hill. Some big Chinese conglomerate bought it that fell through. Someone else has bought it now,
Yeah.
and we're working on a story on that. But there's a lot of potential there to be like a Seagull Square.
Exactly. That there's some hurdles with that property. If I remember correctly, I think it's going to go through the annexation process, and it is very much kind of another infill potential success story. I mean, the EB5 money, I think is what it's called. I'm not sure if they use that type of where you essentially can pay for your citizenship to come into the United States.
Right.
But I think there were some issues with that. But it was a pretty bold play to come in and take down all of that. But I'm glad to see it going in the right direction. It never happens quick enough for what people want to see. But it's happening is, I think, key. So, and you'll see that corridor. I think that's kind of your most southern point in regards to dense development, and Temple Hill and what's the totally forgot the development's name of it.
There's the shopping center there too.
Yeah, I forgot the name. But anyway, that corridor you'll see redeveloped. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk about the farm economy a little bit. There's been so much controversy here with the chicken houses, the new zoning rules about that. How does the farm economy affect everything else in this county?
It's economic multiplier, period. I mean, a successful farmer creates a successful community, and because of our rural nature, I very much want to see as a real estate guy a successful agricultural community. And grain prices right now are extremely low, which creates a favorable market for the poultry economy.
Right.
So we've seen some influx in the poultry world with what are called kind of mass producing or commercial farms. And part of that was the driver of your Purdue's, your Tyson's, your Mount Airs. They're giving incentives to the poultry community. I think it was like $1 to $2 a square foot. They would essentially write a check to the poultry farmer once the house is built. I mean, so that's pretty much their down payment.
Right.
So they got a free down payment. Now, of course, I'm sure there's strings attached to that. But
Sure.
There's a lot of people taking advantage of that. And I think there's probably two sides of the debate as to if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But we've proven time and time again that poultry is good for our economy. I know that in I guess the spring and summertime, when you kind of have that manure smell in the air, it's the smell of money in many respects.
Right.
There's not many communities that you have to sign a waiver when you buy a house that says that there's a right to farm.
Right.
And that's purely because you're buying a house beside a farm. And I think in many respects you should be thankful for that. So it's good. I mean, the agricultural community right now, I believe, is pretty solid.
Yeah, and I don't sense what I did in the 80s and during the boom of the 90s, where farmers' whole mission is to sell the farm so they can move to Florida.
Yeah.
I don't sense that anymore because.
I think one of the struggles we're going to have, and I'm seeing it in a lot of the general construction trades. So whether it's an HVAC guy, a plumber, you name it, a steel manufacturer, a mason, and farmers are included. The second generation. Who's going to fill these shoes? I mean, if you look at the average age of a farmer or anybody in the fields that I just mentioned, they're pretty old. And so we have to kind of refill those shoes. And I think that has a lot to do with with the initiatives at Warwick and the initiatives at career technology education at Parkside. That's coming, and and so we have to make sure that those farmers want and say, hey, this is the field I want to be in. They're not poor by any means, so they do very well for themselves, and it's a good, hardworking industry to be in. I know very little about it in regards to the day-to-day operations, but the farmers that I know are successful, but they work hard.
Yeah, this sounds like an insult, but my father always said, "You'll never see a farmer driving an old pickup truck."
Yeah, yeah. And a pickup truck is not a $20,000 truck anymore.
No, no.
Yeah.
But it's important to what they do, and there's a lot of pride in what they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just the tension that happened in this poultry debate with people who have moved here and maybe don't get it in terms of the role of poultry. Any thoughts about that?
My thought is more the merrier. I mean, I like that I like that economic multiplier. Poultry and ag are industries that have been I'll call kind of stagnant for decades, and they're prime for disruption. And that disruption, I think, is going to happen in a positive way, meaning with technology or scientific, advances, and with the educational components that we have within our area, and we can really take those strives, take those initiatives, and have successful poultry farms and agricultural farms, and et cetera. But it's going to be up to my generation to kind of take on those responsibilities. And I hope that we do in all of those fields.
Right.
Yeah.
Regionally, all the market polling shows that people come to Salisbury for work, education, medical, and shopping.
Yeah.
You guys are big in the medical. Talk about that out of Woodbrook.
Sure. Our real estate background is really the medical industry. We developed all of the Milford Street the Milford Street area, and that was the mom and pop. That was a doctor and his wife right side by side running a practice that was in 2,000 square feet, and there was just 100 of them. Now that doesn't exist anymore. They can no longer be profitable with the Affordable Care Act and how essentially a medical practice is run. So a lot of them are assimilating, whether to a really large physician group or whether to an actual hospital affiliation.
We see the hospital taking up so many of the different trades.
Right. And it's the pendulum swung the other way 20, 30 years ago, where everyone got away from the hospital.
Right, they ran from the hospital. Was very involved in stuff. They wanted to do their own thing, and now they're getting back into the hospital.
So,
it seems like.
and who knows if it's going to change again. But our facilities used to be just those mom and pops, and now they're 20,000 square feet, they're 50,000 square feet, and it just makes the deals much larger. But they're one user. So it's puts a little bit more, stress on the fact that, hey, this tenant is going to perform, or this buyer is going to perform.
Right.
You don't have some diversification, if you will. So it's interesting, and the lending world is created an environment to where cash flow is king. It's no longer equity in a piece of real estate, or the fact that the appraisal is X and you owe X. That's no longer perceived as money, if you will. So very, very much as a cash flow play. And the recession has cleansed a lot of it's cleansed a lot of folks out. Should they or should not have been in the industry to begin with, I don't know. But that's not for me to say. But yeah, it's a wild industry. I mean, the medical office industry, the office industry, it creates our local economy. I mean, it really. Salisbury has at any given time 1 million plus or minus maybe 1.5 million square feet of professional office space in it. I mean, just to kind of give you a real world example, I think one World Trade Center was 1 million square feet. So one building downtown Manhattan is the size of our entire market.
Right.
And so that kind of just puts it in perspective as to how tertiary rural we are.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you guys figure that out, that things were changing in terms of the combination to take a risk like go out and build a Woodbrook?
Woodbrook is driven by, our world now is we need a lease. So we need to put a lease in place. We go to a lender and say, I have land,
Right.
I have this lease, I need to build a building. And they ask us to put our cash in, we put their debt in, and we build the building. So Woodbrook is based on successes of Peninsula Orthopedics, three lower counties, Delmarva Pharmacy. Those are the three engines. And also fourth engine would be Peninsula Imaging, NPRMC. So those are the five drivers of that. And they recognize the fact that they need to be on the east side of Salisbury.
To get the Worcester business.
And also lower Sussex.
Right.
So we very much are a rural destination for those tertiary markets. I mean, they can't get those specialties anywhere else. We are the hub.
I just remember when I was a kid, I had a knee infection from an injury. And Dr. Campbell was my doctor over there behind the Bounds Funeral Home, with the beginning of POA.
Yeah.
And I went in there one week and they were like, yeah, our x-ray machine's broken, so you have to go to the hospital. Well, when you go to POA now, it's like going to an airport.
Yes.
It's not like their x-ray machine's ever going to be broken. It's a really professional operation.
And that's today's medical office building.
Yeah.
It is an experience.
Yeah.
And they strive for the high quality patient experience. You're not going to hit them all and satisfy everybody, but they sure are trying.
Yeah.
You know.
I broke my finger and they took me in the room where they have all the different things that you would put to keep your finger in place. And there was like 1,000 things in there that I could choose from. It was the most amazing thing that they have all this technology that's there to help you here in Salisbury.
Yeah, no, trust me, there are folks that have moved out of the area, they've retired, and they realize that the attributes and the essentially the many diverse, whether it's medical practices or, hey, I now have a heart condition and I want to be close to the hospital, or I want adult education, and I think there's a initiative for SU for something to do with like later on in life education and learning, and you'll see that where now SU wants to kind of build the critical mass of intellectual knowledge of retiring people, and just kind of connecting those folks with the knowledge and the folks that are striving for it. That's really what's happening, and we're the place to do it. I mean, it's happening. It really truly is.
I've asked you this before, but I love your answer, and I know it's probably an evolving answer, but you're a smart guy. You could live anywhere in the world. You've traveled the world. You could have a big house on the river.
Sure.
I mean, you could live in Florida. You could be California. You could do whatever you want, but you choose to live right here in Central Salisbury.
Yeah, it was a purposeful decision. We're putting our money where our mouth is. So I believe that I have to live it. I think it's my responsibility as a Salisburian to immerse myself, and that's what I'm doing. And I think if that example can be set, we're seeing those folks that are making that same decision, and whether it's buying a house off of Camden, and it's a house that's 1,000, 1,500 square feet, and they're starting their family unit there, and then moving on. Access to amenities just rock. I mean, you're a bike ride away from a frozen yogurt or a sub, or going and seeing an XYZ destination. So it's great. I mean, I absolutely love it.
And I see you running with the stroller, that loop around the university. That's a great little loop to run.
Yeah, the double stroller.
Yeah.
Things like, it's like with kids on, I think it's like 80 pounds. It's like basically pushing a big sail. So I enjoy it. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, just to, there's like the tree canopies or
it's so pretty.
It really is. I mean, we're very fortunate. I think that's one of the issues that we try to pro and con. We can leave and be in 2 hours, be in Philadelphia or New York City, or 3 hours in New York City or DC or Baltimore, and that's a really positive thing. But at the same time, it takes away from the value of Salisbury, and people seek value outside of Salisbury, even though we have so much going for us in Salisbury. So it's a great reason to live here, but it's also sometimes our Achilles heel in the fact that you can be anywhere at any time and come back home. So it's just kind of I think it's a critical mix, to have things to do for all ages within a community. So again, you're not going to please everybody all the time, but again, Wycomico County, Salisbury, we have great things going on, and I think it's only going to get better, quite honestly.
He's Brad Gillis from DevRecco, which I mispronounced again. It's Development Real Estate Company.
Sure.
And it's an acronym, so it's all spelled out. And he's one of the people who's applying his business sense and intelligence to make our community better business-wise and community-wise. And I salute him. Thank you, Brad, for being here today.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Greg.
I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent Newspaper, another edition of 101 right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.